So I'll do as I would have done outside, but inside. That's a little demo I started this morning, so I'll just do a little bit here. So this is like traditional oil paints, and this is a little box I made. It's a nice kind of lightweight painting box, pochade box, and this all folds down. And I mostly paint on these thin boards, finish boards, sort of end.
I just said that to the taxi driver. I was like, no, take so I'm not the last.
So it's thin MDF board that I just primed. Hiya, come in.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah, one of the trip hazards. And then, hello, hiya. Right, come through. Carol, come through.
Right, cheers, Rubbish.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll carry on much more. Hi, Carol, come through. Do you wanna let's just move this out of your way?
Okay.
I'm having a bit of a change round. I thought I'd do the demo down this end. Have a seat. I'll bring you back over. Right. Yeah, so the idea is it's fairly lightweight. I can carry it around. It'll fit in my bag here. I tend to start off by just sketching something out, and the last week or two I've been using my pens. I find these the easiest and almost like the quickest way to sketch out, particularly when it's something quite complicated. These are water soluble, so I can, if I was going to draw something like maybe one of the building, I'll do go a little. Sometimes I'll just sketch in that tone, but then it's easier to see if it's slightly darker. So if we just draw a little. And things like street scenes, they're quite complicated. So just getting something down quite quickly is handy. And then there's another building there. This is obviously all much smaller if it's in the distance. There's a car coming about there. And there's another building on the other side. So sometimes getting the smaller things, or what I tend to do is I'll draw something in and then I'll relate the other things to that. Sometimes I'll do literally just kind of measure it. So basically using my pen, one pen, lining up maybe the side of this building with the end, and then just going across and just seeing how wide that appears. And I can then just kind of mark that off. So that worked quite well. I'll show you this picture I did on Saturday, and I pretty much did the whole picture like that. Do you want to shut the curtain? Fan. Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. I forgot about the fan. Yeah. Come on. That's it. Oh, there. Yeah. Well, I remember that. We remember those last week, and I forgot. So this one, I really pretty much measured everything, just because there was a lot in there to get down.
Wow.
And I knew it was really complicated. This was off the King's Road, Chelsea.
Ooh, fancy.
So I'm trying to think what I did. I think I might have started about here, and then the nice thing about measuring is I can, literally just kind of measure the height of that stall, and then just translate it down. So that's one way that I would work. Another way is to sort of pick something, maybe like the size of a window or something like that, or maybe the width of the body. Well, if it was something like a window, I could think, well, I want to draw that window about that size, so I can measure it there, and then compare it with maybe the width of the building or something like that, and basically sort of scale up or scale down. So that's another way. It's a bit more complicated, but some sort of direct measuring is a really useful way of working. So we kind of measure that, transfer that over, do the same with the width of the building, transfer that over. And then, just literally sort of work from there. So that works quite nicely, just using the water-soluble pens. And then it's really easy to make alterations. So just a damp rag, and I can just wipe that out. What I also sometimes do is just use paint. Paint's fine. I just found this was a little bit quicker when I was short of time, rather than having to get some paint and mix it and get the right consistency. It was just a lot quicker to just do it with a paint line. So once I've got something blocked out or something sort of delineated, I won't worry too much about details because I can still draw into this. But that gives me a good framework to work from. I'm just looking there, and there's sort of trees in the background there, something like that. Then I've been, over the last few weeks, I've been having a go at trying to mix more of my colours using a palette knife. My natural inclination is to just mix them with the brush as I go, but I've always found that I'm forever mixing paint. I don't mix enough paint, so using a palette knife has helped me to just mix bigger quantities really. So I'll probably start with the sky, working kind of background to foreground. So yeah, just getting a reasonable amount of white to start with. With colour mixing, with the lighter colours, I find it easiest to start, if it's going to have white in it, I'll perhaps start with the white. So a lighter blue, I'll start with the white and just add tiny bits of blue into that. Whereas if it's a darker colour, I would start with the darker colours and add the lighter ones into it. So it really kind of depends on what time I'm mixing. So if I mix that's quite a strong blue, it's a bit stronger than it is. And the other thing about skies is obviously it changes quite a bit. More towards the horizon, you'll find it's a little bit warmer tones, perhaps a little bit yellower, and then going further up, you'll get a more intense blue, a stronger blue at the top. So sometimes have it slightly lighter down here, and maybe a little bit pinky or something like that. So, got some pink in that. I always have a bit of rag on the side of my palette like that, and then and what I've also got is I've got these little coffee lids which I put solvent in, or that one's got solvent, this one's got a mixture of linseed oil and solvent. So I use this one for thin paint. This one's more for maybe a first wash or cleaning brushes. So I can clean that brush a little bit, and then just dry it on a rag. I don't want it too wet. And then when I'm cleaning the palette knife, I tend to try and keep that side clean and this side that I just wipe it with. And that way I'm not going in with painting. I try to keep a clean side and a dirty side, and I don't get my hands covered. That's that bit. And yeah, basically just working back from the foreground. Got a whole range of brushes. I've been using a lot of nylon brushes, particularly because I work on these smooth bits of MDF board. And these are primed with it's called a gesso primer, which is really like an acrylic primer with just a little bit of a tooth. I think it's probably got something like plaster or something like that mixed in, just something to give it a little bit of texture. And then I'll give it a couple of coats, and the top coat I tend to put some acrylic paint in it just to give it a little bit of colour. I don't work on bright white because it's just a bit too white for me. So sometimes I go this sort of creamy colour, sometimes I make them a bit greyer, sometimes a bit more lavendery. I try different colours lately. And then, yeah, let's do it. Thin the paint a tiny bit, not too much. Just a little bit with the paint medium, which is, as I say, linseed oil. And then I've got this other mix where it's a little bit lighter. So as I'm getting down to the tree line, just doing like that, and I can blend. The nice thing about the oils is they'll stay wet a long time, so I can blend the colours in together. If bits go wrong, I can wipe them out easily enough. That's okay. This little tray here is actually the lid off my box that I keep my brushes in. And I've got little grooves here so that I can put any wet brushes along there so that they don't get, you know, one colour won't merge into the next. So I used another brush. I haven't actually mixed the green, but I've got some green here, and I'll just dip in a little bit of yellow. So there's a tree in the background here. The shadows, I'm going to add a little bit of brown in with that. I think that's brown. Just a little bit of darker shadow around there. It's got a bit too dark. And just wipe the brush and go back to the green. I try and use as big a brush as I can. Obviously this is a small bit in the distance. And then for little details I can go down to a smaller brush. So if I wanted to just suggest a few leaves at the edge of the canopy, go down to that. Right. And then the buildings themselves. This one at the moment is in a mixture of, there's some shadows and some light there. I've got a little bit of grey mix there, so there's sort of shadow in here. What's the window like? Yeah, the window I can go a little bit darker. Shadow down that side. Go a little bit darker the window. And brushes, I quite like these fairly square brushes. Sometimes I've got shorter hair, sometimes longer hair, but I find these, particularly for these kind of street scenes, are quite nice for those sort of architectural details. And just clean that off and get some lighter. So, yeah, on that side, it's just really like an off-white, a little bit of light in here. Or I could have just left a gap and then pop the window in, something like that. And then, yeah, I've got window bars. I can almost like just sort of print with the brush, put some nice fine lines like that.
Ooh.
Not quite like that, but that's that sort of thing. So that's basically how I go about starting things off and then building a painting. Quite often, this one that I did this morning, it's like a creamy colour, and I started with the yellow and that's far too strong, so I then used some of my bluey colours over the top, and that worked quite nicely, just sort of kind of working that into the yellow thing. So having a warm colour and then a cool colour painting into it. That's something I've been experimenting with off and on for a year or so. That's what
Why do you like that? Out of
interest. It just feels more like the thing. I think quite often I struggle with these sort of warm colours in shadows, and if I just mix a colour, it doesn't seem to be that convincing. It's an idea I got a year or two ago with a couple of workshops actually I took. Both the artists I think one of the artists had got the idea from the other one, but it's that idea of kind of having a cool colour and then painting a warm colour into it, or a warm colour, and then while it's still wet, painting the cool colour into it, and you just get a different feel and a different effect than if you just mixed one colour.
I saw a video about someone who studied Rothko, and they were saying that he did that, and there was something to do with vibrating colours.
Yeah, it's that sort of idea. Yeah, that it becomes slightly. I suppose one colour is slightly showing through the other, and you get a different sort of feel, which is quite nice. Sometimes, if I just mix a colour, sometimes they can be a bit solid looking. That can look a little bit, a bit more like light, the effects of light reflecting off another surface or something like that. Is that okay? Thought it'd be a good one to do for people that are off to Southwold at the weekend, sketching and painting. So this sort of thing I'll bring along with me, do some more on-site demos and things like that. Any questions? All good. Okay, right.